Another day to create some good old content. It's kinda tiring though. But I should check how my videos did last week. You know, I dropped 2 of them things. Alright, need some extra motivation. Okay, let's see how they did. Wait, what? This is sitting at 9 out of 10. Only 91 views. It's been out for 3 days and 20 hours and it can't even hit 100 views. That sucks. Let me see how the other video did. That should be okay. Oh, no, it's not. 10 out of 10. Not even 100 views. How am I gonna find the motivation to keep going? Shoot, forget the motivation. How am I gonna find the discipline to keep going? Like my videos ain't doing well. Well, I guess I'm gonna have to search for it somehow. You know, the easiest answer for me to give would be to just suck it up and just do it. Whoa, pause. No matter what. While that would save me a whole bunch of time and a whole bunch of explanation, I think the best way to approach this is from a healthy standpoint. You see, I believe people tend to fall on either side of the extremes. Is either you are very undisciplined to the point that you are comfortable with being undisciplined, you're comfortable with putting things off till the next day or the next hour and you eventually never get to it. Or you're on the other extreme where you believe that if you don't do what you set out to do, that you are a failure as a human being and you can't be productive for the rest of the day and you are a failure as a person. Just going all the way and just doubting and beating yourself down to a pulp. I believe people tend to fall on either side of the spectrum, but in reality there should be a balance of both. Yes, you should be able to give yourself some grace if you are unable to complete a task or even get to a task right there and then, but you should also be able to hold yourself accountable to actually accomplishing that task in the near future. Failure of not accomplishing that task for the day does not make you less of a human being or a failure in general. It just means you need to step up your game and hold yourself even more accountable. But do it in a healthy manner. Even with all that being said, I think you have to even get to the mindset where you want to be disciplined for you to even fall in either extremes. Being disciplined is something that just doesn't fall into your lap. It's something you have to train and something you have to want. It's really something that you have to force. So how do you force yourself to be disciplined? Well, I'm glad you asked. I think the first thing you have to establish is to be willing to hold yourself accountable in whatever goal you set out to achieve. You see, setting the goal is the easy part. Anybody could set a goal. I could say I want to be a billionaire and that's the goal. But the steps in achieving the goal and your attitude when you are trying to achieve that goal is what separates you from the rest. Your attitude, your effort, your motivation, and your discipline. That's what sets you apart from everybody else setting goals. What are you willing to do to achieve that goal? What are you willing to sacrifice to achieve that goal? How uncomfortable are you willing to get to progress in achieving that goal? These are the questions you have to ask yourself, and these are the things you have to start developing in oneself to force yourself to be disciplined. If I'm being honest, I used to think you had to have a certain archetype or have a certain personality trait to even be disciplined. I don't know if that's true or not, but I believe that discipline is something that's developed. It is something that is earned as you swim through the waters of perseverance. A real test of your discipline is when things are going bad, when progress is not being achieved at the rate you want it to be achieved. How's your discipline then? Are you willing to continue in your journey? You put out multiple videos, it doesn't crack 100 views. Are you ready to give up, or are you ready to put out your next video? Are you ready to still go through the rigors of doing what you have to do to put out something? Again, I don't have these answers for you. Only you do. Another way to force yourself to be disciplined is to keep to a structure and keep to a schedule you set out for yourself. You see, I don't know your goals. I don't know what you strive to accomplish. I don't know what you strive to be. I also don't know how your life is set up. But if you do have a goal, you should know how to structure your goals around your everyday life. Whether it be going to the gym, maybe you decide to do that in the morning before you go to your 9 to 5, and whatever project you have after that, you do it after you get to work. Or you can flip the time slots depending on how your life is set up. I believe when you have a schedule and a structure, you are eliminating all possibilities of a cluttered mind, and you have a clear path in knowing what you have to attack and what you need to execute day by day. And in doing that, you are eliminating all possible excuses you would give yourself otherwise for a reason why you didn't even attack whatever goal you set out for the day. obviously I know life be life, and so things might not pan out as you structure them out to be, but you should have a way where you account for that you know how to make up for whatever you need to make up for. It's a thing where you have a structure and you also have room to play it by ear. But the fact is that you're holding yourself accountable to do those things and meet the criteria that you have set out for yourself. That is forcing yourself to be disciplined. Another way to force yourself to be disciplined is to compare the work ethic of other people that you strive to be like. If you have examples of people who have accomplished the goals you've set out for yourself, you should maybe study them and see how they got to that point. I can almost guarantee you that they worked and they never missed days, or if they missed days, they made up for those days and possibly even did more. I think having a point of reference and a point of inspiration goes a long way. A point of motivation essentially, and the person you are using as a point of reference don't even have to know that they are your motivator. You're just using them to motivate you. It has nothing to do with them. It has everything to do with you. You're just using them as a vessel to get to where you need to go. So a point of reference goes a long way because you can use them as a point of reference to compare your goals and your progress compared to where they were at the same time period. That is another way to see if you are progressing or you are not. And it's a way where you can then accurately state if you need to up your discipline or slow down your discipline. And I think the last part of how to force yourself to be disciplined is twofold. It's really your consistency and your effort. I've talked about how consistency sometimes could be your worst enemy because it could lead to a creative overload and you just creating to a point of diminishing returns. But I think there's a way where you can fragment your consistency and give the most effort. Some people who do things every day cannot give 100% every day. I understand, but what if for the allotted time of the day you've set aside for achieving that goal, you break that time slot into fragments? You might be a person who gives 100% every 30 minutes or every hour out of a 5-hour allotted time span. I don't know what it is. Whatever that time slot is, break them up into fragments and allot 100% each fragment. You know, in between each fragment, you take a break, then you start your next fragment and you put 100%. I believe this makes you encouraged to want to work because it doesn't make you feel burnt out. Consistency and effort, I believe, go together. When you find the right mix of how to approach both, I think you've struck gold. So remember this, in your journey to achieving your goal, you should keep it at the back of your mind that it's not going to be a smooth journey. You're going to have up times and you're going to have low times. It creates character and it builds discipline on how you approach both. In good times, how do you adjust? In bad times, how do you adjust and how do you persevere? Do you feel discouraged? You're human. You should feel discouraged, but do you let that linger and stop the momentum of discipline you have created for yourself? Do you let that consume your whole being, or do you feel it for a little bit and continue and get back to work? These are situations you're going to come across, and it's on you to answer that question when that time comes. Yeah, that's all I wanted to say. I'll see you guys in the next video. God bless. Peace.